The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. Their fleet numbered in the millions. Their weapons could crack planets like eggs. Their soldiers had conquered over 900 species across countless star systems. Emperor the Eternal sat upon his throne made from the bones of defeated kings, believing himself untouchable. He had never known fear. He had never tasted defeat. That changed on the day the humans arrived. It began in the Nexus system, the very heart of the Empire. Grand Admiral stood on the bridge of the devastation, the largest warship ever built by hands. The vessel stretched for 50 kilometers, bristling with enough firepower to sterilize an entire solar system. Around it floated 3,000 support ships, each one capable of destroying civilizations. Was reviewing battle reports from the outer rim when his sensor officer made a sound he had never heard before. It was something between a gasp and a whimper. "Admiral," the officer said, his voice shaking. "Something is appearing. Coordinates 773. It came from nothing." "Explain yourself clearly," demanded. There was empty space, completely empty, and then there was a ship. No hyperspace signature, no jump flash, no dimensional tier. It simply existed where nothing existed before. Walked to the viewing screen. His four eyes narrowed as he studied the object that had materialized in his space. It was small compared to his mighty devastation, perhaps 2 kilometers long. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, covered in strange angles and surfaces that seemed to drink in light rather than reflect it. There were no visible weapons, no shields glowing around it, no engine exhaust trailing behind. It simply floated there, silent and still. "Scan it," ordered. "I am trying, Admiral." The scans return nothing. It is as if the ship does not exist, yet we can see it with our eyes. "Impossible. Everything can be scanned. Everything has an energy signature." "Not this. Whatever metal that hull is made from, our technology cannot identify it. Whatever power source drives it, our sensors cannot detect it." Felt an unfamiliar sensation crawling up his spine. He had commanded fleets for 300 years. He had burned worlds and shattered armadas. But looking at that dark, silent vessel, he felt something he could not name. "Hail them," he said. The communication officer worked his console. "Channel open, Admiral." "Unknown vessel. You have entered space without authorization. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed." Silence stretched for 30 seconds. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was calm, steady, almost pleasant. It spoke in perfect, without accent or hesitation. "This is the Earth vessel Persistence. We mean you no harm unless you give us reason. We are searching for survivors of the colony ship New Dawn, which disappeared in this region 90 years ago. Provide information about human captives in your empire, and we will leave peacefully." Laughed. The sound echoed across his bridge. His crew joined him, though their laughter seemed forced. "Humans," said. "That primitive species from the outer arm. We conquered your people centuries ago. Whatever colonists entered our space became slaves or food. You dare come here alone in that tiny vessel and make demands of the Empire." "We ask only for information about our people," the voice replied. "We have no desire for conflict." "You have no choice in the matter. Surrender your vessel for study, or we will reduce you to atoms." "That would be unwise." Ended the communication. He turned to his weapons officer. "Destroy them." The devastation fired its primary weapon. A beam of concentrated plasma, hot as the core of a star, lanced across space toward the human ship. The beam could cut through any shield ever created. It could melt any armor ever forged. It struck the Persistence directly. The dark hull absorbed the energy like water into sand. There was no explosion, no damage, no reaction at all. "Fire again," said his voice tight. They fired again and again. They fired every weapon on the devastation. Missiles detonated against that strange hull. Plasma washed over it. Kinetic rounds shattered against it. The human ship did not move. It did not fight back, it simply endured. All ships, broadcast to his fleet, concentrate fire on the alien vessel, now. 3,000 warships opened fire simultaneously. The space around the Persistence became a storm of destruction. For 10 minutes, enough firepower to destroy 100 worlds poured into that single target. When the barrage finally stopped, smoke and debris clouds obscured the view. Waited, certain that nothing could survive such an assault. The debris cleared. The Persistence floated exactly where it had been, completely undamaged. Not a scratch marked its hull. "We gave you the opportunity for peace," the calm voice said over the communication channel. "You chose violence. Now we must respond. We are sorry for what comes next." The human ship moved. It moved faster than anything had ever seen. One moment it hung motionless in space. The next it was beside the devastation, pressed against its hull like a parasite. Barely had time to shout an order before his ship shuddered. Something was cutting through 50 meters of armored plating as easily as a knife through water. Alarms screamed throughout the vessel. Entire sections went dark. Power fluctuated wildly. "They are inside us," someone screamed. Watched his tactical display with growing horror. Red dots appeared throughout his ship, moving through corridors, cutting through sealed doors, advancing toward the bridge with unstoppable determination. His soldiers fired their weapons. The shots had no effect. Security barriers fell. Defensive systems failed. In less than 20 minutes, the human soldiers reached the bridge. The doors melted away and saw them for the first time. They wore armor that seemed made from the same impossible material as their ship. They carried weapons that glowed with soft blue light. They moved with perfect coordination, clearing the bridge of armed guards without killing a single. One of them stepped forward and removed his helmet, saw a face unlike any species he knew, soft features, curious eyes. The human was smaller than him, weaker looking, seemingly fragile, yet felt terror looking at him. "I am Captain Samuel of the Earth Defense Force," the human said. "You will now tell me about the human slaves in your empire. Where are they kept? How many survive?" "You cannot threaten the empire," managed to say. "We rule this galaxy. We have ruled for. Your tiny species means nothing." Captain studied him with an expression that might have been sadness. "Do you know why we disappeared from the galaxy for so long? We found your empire 1,000 years ago. We saw how you treated weaker species. We understood that if we revealed ourselves too soon, you would try to destroy us. So we waited. We hid in deep space, building our strength, developing our technology, preparing for the day when we could face you." He paused, looking at the frozen crew around him. "That day has come. Your weapons cannot hurt us. Your ships cannot catch us. Your soldiers cannot stop us. We spent 1,000 years becoming something you cannot defeat, not because we wanted war, but because we knew you would give us no choice." Felt his world crumbling. Everything he believed, everything his empire represented, suddenly seemed small and temporary. "The human colonists," continued, "tell me where they are." Told him. He gave the locations of every world where human slaves labored in mines and factories. He revealed the hidden prison stations where political captives were held. He shared everything he knew, because looking into those calm human eyes, he understood that resistance was meaningless. When he finished speaking, nodded. "Thank you. Your cooperation will be remembered. My ship will now leave peacefully, but you should deliver a message to your emperor." "What message?" "Tell him that humanity is awake. We do not seek conquest. We do not desire vengeance. We want only to free our people and live in peace. But if the Empire strikes at us, if you harm any human, if you threaten our worlds, we will return. And next time, we will not be so gentle." The humans, their soldiers vanished back through the holes they had cut. The Persistence detached from the devastation and floated away. Then, just as mysteriously as it had appeared, it vanished. No hyperspace signature, no jump flash. It simply ceased to exist in that location. stood on his damaged bridge, surrounded by bewildered officers, trying to understand what had just happened. The message reached Emperor within hours. For the first time in his long reign, fear touched his ancient heart. He ordered his greatest scientists to study the damage to the devastation. They found nothing they could explain. The cutting marks in the armor were impossibly precise. The metal had not been melted or broken but had simply been removed, atom by atom. Over the following months, human ships appeared throughout the empire, always without warning, always from nothing. They entered slave camps and removed human captives. They destroyed facilities where humans were held. They freed over 3 million people, moving them to locations the empire could not find. The military responded with everything they had. They set traps. They deployed their most advanced weapons. They sacrificed entire fleets trying to stop even one human ship. They failed every time. The humans did not attack worlds. They did not seek to conquer territory. They simply took back their people and left. But the Empire understood the message clearly. The galaxy was no longer theirs alone. Something new had risen in the darkness between stars, something patient and powerful and utterly beyond their ability to oppose. Emperor called a council of his greatest advisors. For the first time in 12,000 years, the empire discussed the possibility of peace. Not peace through conquest, as they had always known, but peace through negotiation, peace with equals. Because the humans had shown them a truth they could not ignore. The galaxy was vast and old, and no empire lasted forever. Somewhere in the endless night, other powers waited and watched and grew strong. They had believed themselves supreme, but they had merely been first. Now another species had risen to stand beside them. From nothing, a human warship had materialized, and the Galactic Empire discovered that all their power, all their history, all their conquest, meant nothing against a people who had learned to be patient. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting to see what would happen next.